Hey friends, hey family, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Crystal Blue. I do Christian content and I also do what's called the Word of the Day. I also have videos and shorts of me and my family having fun together, and I also have inspirational shorts. So if you like what you see and hear, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Happy Hump Day. Hopefully everybody's having a blessed Wednesday. I know I am so far. So today we're going to be reading from the book of Psalm, and we're actually going to be reading the very first book, the very first chapter, verses 6. And before we get into it, I want to give a little bit of context as to what we're talking about here. So this is pretty much going into a little bit of judgment, righteousness, being hypocritical, having a pure heart. So there are several things that are going into this particular verse, and I'm going to back it up with another verse so it'll make more sense to you. But in essence, it's talking about how God looks over the righteous, and of course, being wicked leads to destruction. But there's a lot to be said for that. You could just read the verse and be like, okay, it is what it is, but it goes a little bit deeper. So we're going to read the verse and then we're going to dive in. All right, it's the first book of Psalm, and it's verse 16, verse 6. It says, "For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction." Now, it seems pretty cut and dry, right? Okay, God's looking after the good people, and the people that are doing bad things, boom, they're going to, something bad's going to happen to them. But it goes a whole lot deeper than that. When you break it down and look into it and actually read what it actually means, then you'll be like, oh, it's not as simple as that. Anybody can pretend to be righteous all day long. Anybody can pretend. As human beings, we can't tell who's good and who's bad because people will put on facades and act like they're something that they're not. Only God can judge their heart and see their heart and know whether they're good or bad. And then, of course, people that are just doing bad, they're just out there living life in the world and loving it and not caring about the consequences. And so, therefore, God is like, you're not doing anything productive for my kingdom. And that will lead to destruction. But for those of us who actually are searching our hearts and God sees that our hearts that we're trying to do good, then He will protect us. He will watch over us. He will give us grace. And when I read this, at first I read it just for what it was. But then I started to look in this app that I have called Bible Ref. And it actually breaks down what each verse actually means. And then it gave me another verse to reference. So let me read it again. Psalm 1, verse 6. "For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction." Again, you know how I was saying people can't see your heart, but God can. So you may be that person that's out there doing wonderful things for the community. And to us, to the human eye, it looks like, oh man, this person is great. They go to church, they tithe, they give to the homeless. But in their heart, they might be doing it just for gain, to look good on social media or for political gain, like their heart is not in the right place. But then there's that other person who is out there that's just running rampant, doing crazy things like whatever, I don't care. And then there's the other person who's genuinely pure in heart. They're wanting to help the community. They want to tithe. They want to go to church. They want to feed the homeless. They want to go volunteer. And they don't want any recognition or anything for it. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. And they know that they're not perfect, but they're trying. So the way it's broken down is if we go to Luke chapter 18, 9 verses 9 through 14, it talks about the Pharisee and the tax collector. So basically, both of them went into the temple, and the Pharisee was saying, oh, well, I'm glad I'm not like the tax collector, and I fast and I do all these things, blah, blah, blah. And the Pharisee was just going on and on about how awesome and how righteous he was. The tax collector said, I am a sinner. Woe to me. I know I'm a bad person. And so Jesus was saying the tax collector was justified because, yes, he knew he wasn't perfect, but still he was trying. But the Pharisee was being a hypocrite. The Pharisee was saying, oh, me, I do this. So he was doing all things for show, but his heart wasn't in the right place. But the tax collector's was. The tax collector humbled himself. He said, yes, I'm a tax collector and everything. I know I'm a sinner. I know I'm not a good person, but I am trying to do right. So you see the differences here. The person who wants to be boastful and say, oh, I'm doing this, just like people on social media, certain folks who are doing things just for show so they can look good, And then there's that one person that says, you know what? I know I'm not perfect. I know I messed up. I know I'm wrong. But guess what? I'm trying. That's what God can see the difference. He can see their heart posture. And that's something we as humans, we can't see. So we just kind of have to guess and kind of make a judgment. And oftentimes we can judge wrong. We'll be like, but I thought that person, but I thought that person. And then we realize they were in it for their own gain. And they weren't doing it out of the kindness or goodness of their hearts. They wanted something in return, whether it was political status, to look good, for followers, whatever the case may be. So I always say, look at your own heart posture. And I do that myself. I'm like, I need to examine my own heart and be like, okay, why am I really doing whatever it is that I'm doing, that I'm trying to gain this? Or am I really doing it because I want to help? So this is what these verses are saying. Basically, the Lord watches over the righteous, the pure in heart, the ones who actually are trying. They know they're sinners, they know they're bad, but guess what? Their heart is in the right place. But the way of the wicked leads to destruction. The people who are, yeah, they're making it seem like they're doing right, but their heart is not in the right place. And if they're doing things for their own self and for their own gain, that's going to lead to destruction every single time. All right. I know this got a little heavy and it got a little in depth, but I want you guys to understand what these verses really mean. And I also would recommend the app that I use called Bible Ref, REF. And basically it references every Bible verse and breaks it down for you. And I love how it took this simple verse from Psalm 1 and 6 and then explained it by going to Luke 18, 9 through 14. So you understand. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you guys understand. That's what I want to do, to educate and bring people to the Lord and help people, understand their Bible and want to read their Bible more. So that's my heart posture. All right. But like I always say, don't take my word for it. Read it yourself. Again, today's verse came from Psalm 1, verse 6, and the backup, the reference came from Luke 18, 9 through 14. All right. Check your heart posture. I love you guys. I hope this blessed you. And Lord willing, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.